Hi, hello. Welcome to their episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is July the 1st, 2024. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. We're starting off the month getting that lasagna. Let's see here. Actually, first, before I get into my day and all the usual stuff, I want to keep on with what I said. I said we're back, and we're back in a big way. Newsy shout outs. Let me go ahead and do that. Starting off with Stephanie Renee and Edward Haas. Shout out to y'all. Thank you so much. I couldn't do this without y'all. It wouldn't be nearly as fun without. Thank you for all your support and your energy. The vibes are very much appreciated. Now let's see. Back to my day. My day, it was good. It was solid. It was golden. Work was pretty easy, pretty light. Let's see here. What was the food corner last night? Food corner was fun. It was a fun little pig out collaboration. I went out and I went to two spots to eat for dinner. I had Cane's and then I also had Popeyes. From Popeyes, I went ahead and got an order of mashed potatoes and Cajun gravy, and then I got a biscuit, and they had a strawberry cheesecake. And I was like, yes, I love when they have cheesecake. So I was very happy to score that. And then from Cane's, nice and simple, I got the Caniac combo with an extra piece of toast. So overall, it was a solid order. Everything was right. The only problem I had was the cheesecake was frozen solid when I got it. So I was like, oh, womp womp. But then I just quickly remembered, I'm like, it's the summertime. I'm going to have no problem de-thawing this thing. So I just took it home and let it sit for a little bit and was good to go. And it was really yummy. Definitely glad I didn't like rage, throw it away or something stupid like that. Let's see here. So yeah, we're all caught up on my Joneses. That's how my day has been. Hopefully you've had a good day and got your lasagna. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and do the startup and we'll get into some news. Oh yeah, that hit the spot. All right. So our first story is coming from The Guardian. Let's see here. Where is it? Performance of French far right who see Europe as the problem fears German foreign minister as it happened. That title is a bit mealy, but essentially this is just an update on the election going on in France. It is going really well for the far right. For the first time since I believe World War II, it looks like they are going to be in power. It's just a question of how much power. So yeah, let's just kind of go through this real quick. The National Rally, or RN as they're abbreviated, I believe it's Rally Nationale, maybe. Oui. As its allies won 33% of the vote in Sunday's first round of France's snap legislative elections, fueling fears at home and abroad about the rise of the far right. Now, we talked about this when European Parliament had their lean to the right. Macron kind of freaked out, kind of spazzed, and said, hey, we're going to do these snap elections in France. I don't have to do this. I'm risking a lot. But like if we win, we really put the kibosh on this far right movement. And if we lose, I guess the contingency plan was, well, we let them in under hopefully my stewardship as a centrist president. And we kind of keep them at bay, and then maybe people can see with their plans and changes, even if they do wind up taking over, that they see how bad it is, and they flip back. Bold strategy, Cotton, and we can see that it's not working out too well. The left-wing New Popular Front Alliance, or the NFP, got 28%, while President Emmanuel Macron's centrist bloc came third with 22% of the vote. Most most of the 577 seats in the National Assembly will now be decided in a second round runoff on Sunday, which I believe is this coming Sunday. So yeah, it was really funny. I mean, in some ways, even though I definitely view this as a bad news bear situation, it's a shame that it's happening. But it's so funny to see Macron with egg on his face, because I listened to him, over the week or so, as he's made his spiel or appeal to the people of France, essentially not just trying to fight off the far right, but also the far left. He's been trying to say, like, oh, both extremes are bad. You should just go with me unless you want a civil war. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but the words civil war were used by him. And it's like, dude, I'm so sick of it. You and A24 just need to fucking stop it, okay? This didn't work out well for him. And now he looks like a fucking idiot loser for allowing it to happen. He's going to lose his, like, freshly new prime minister guy. Who fucking cares what his name is? But yeah, it looks like Jordan Bardella is going to be the new guy. It's just going to be a question of how much power they're going to have. So now they have to switch in terms of Macron and like the centrist party. They really need to say now, okay, actually maybe the left isn't so bad. It doesn't matter how extreme they are. We just need to beat the devil at our door, which is the National Rally. So we'll see. I mean, this could be super bad and like we see Marine Le Pen in like full power, or it could be not as bad and you just see Bardella in power just as a prime minister. Maybe they don't have as much power in parliament and they have to come to the table and they can't get things through. That's what I hope, right, is that latter one. But we don't know. We have no idea. France has its own destiny in its hands right now. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they make of it. Maybe they make an omelet. Let's see here. Was there anything else I really wanted to pull? No, I've yammered on enough. I guess we could talk about the Polish part. I just kind of shoved that in here, in my opinion. It's not that important to me. Donald Tusk, the Polish prime minister, has issued a warning about the far right. They love Putin, money, and power without control. And they are already in power or are reaching for it in the east or west of Europe, he said. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I've said this before, though, in context of just internationally and obviously even here, is that you just see this social conservative bend to a lot of ideology, a lot of the politics, a lot of what people seem to be fucking wanting, which once again is something that's always heartbreaking for me to see. I would like to see the opposite. Things move to a more progressive place, at the very goddamn least. I don't even think that's asking for much in the year 2024, but apparently so. Apparently fucking so. So, I mean, let's just keep these hits coming. We got another thing. It's another SCOTUS update. I tricked you. I know in the thumbnail I said Trump, but this is Trump and SCOTUS. They're one and the same here. Like a cruel abomination. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. What is this from? The USA Today. In historic ruling on presidential immunity, Supreme Court says Trump can be tried for private acts. The Supreme Court ruled Monday that former President Donald Trump can be tried for any of his efforts to overturn his 2020 loss that were not taken in his official capacity, a decision that likely came too late for a trial to be completed before Election Day. That's a duh. We all knew that. Like, he's not going through any of the other trials till after November. And then if he wins, then he can just more or less, I believe, brush all or most of these motherfucking things off. But yeah, this was a new wrinkle. I was kind of hoping that they wouldn't decide it this way, because I know it initially seems like, okay, well, he can still be charged, but they still gave him immunity in a way that I feel like is weird and is only really going to make things more complicated in the future for not just Donald Trump, but presidents in the future. But yeah, deciding for the first time whether presidents are immune from criminal prosecution, a divided Supreme Court said official acts taken by a president are protected, but not steps he took as a candidate. Let's see here. But it just makes it so murky to me. And to some other people. I want to at least get one person's take on this in this article. The parties before us do not dispute that a former president can be subject to criminal prosecution for unofficial acts committed while in office. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for a 6-3 majority that divided along ideological lines. They also agree that some of the conduct described in the indictment includes actions taken by Trump in his unofficial capacity. uh, um, but Sotomayor argued that the court gave Trump all the immunity he asked for and more. Let's keep scrolling ahead. There was a take that I wanted to kind of get into that kind of encapsulated some of my fear better than I could say it in a riff, if I can find it. Here we go. David Becker, a former senior trial attorney in the voting section of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division, called the High Court's decision deeply disturbing and really striking for what it would allow a president to do in office and remain unchallenged criminally. Presidents, he said, would have immunity from interactions with an attorney general, even if that meant pressuring him to change election results or ordering SEAL Team 6 to kill a political opponent. The way I read this opinion is that it could be a roadmap for presidents seeking to stay in power. It could put into question whether or not future peaceful transfers of power occur. To me, it just gives a president like too much of a cloak to get away with more shit. And like maybe they don't get away with it in the long run, but it leads to protracted arguments and discussions in court because they get to use the argument that Trump has used now to this point and carried all the way up to the Supreme Court that like, hey, yeah, I tried to overturn an election and like it led to the whole January 6th shit and all that. But like that, even if I'm guilty of sin of that, I have actual presidential immunity. And like, it just kind of goes to that thing I remember when I first learned about like diplomatic immunity and stuff like that, how it just feels like a star power for politicians and they shouldn't have that kind of fucking shit. Like, yeah, diplomatic immunity is like a thing that you get when you're like kind of going abroad or whatever. But like then having that kind of ability as a president to just be like, no, I'm kind of legally bulletproof. Like Trump has kind of touted that shit around for the longest time. And essentially what the courts have said here is like, no, he doesn't have complete immunity, but he does have like some immunity in office, wink, wink, nudge. So like, we don't know now how things are going to play out. Like there's still going to be trials despite the fact that they are delayed, but we don't know if maybe even if he does lose, that he can maybe even kick this defense around and maybe it works on an appeal or what have you. I don't know now. We don't know. When I just think this could have been just very clear and you could have just left this specifically to Trump and just saying, no, you don't have immunity on this, that, and third. I don't know. You could have just gotten pretty specific with this and it would have made a lot of clarity and been better overall, I feel like. But I feel like they did this blanket on purpose to kind of give Trump this, and who cares if it does give presidents this kind of power. They don't care as a conservative majority. They're fine with that. So yeah, that's fun. That's fresh. So cool that they did that. But let's get to a local thing I wanted to cover from WLWT5. Officials, 5 shot, 3 dead in shooting in Corryville near UC campus. 3 people have died and 2 remain hospitalized after an overnight shooting early morning in Corryville near the University of Cincinnati campus. Cincinnati police say a total of 5 people were shot around 2:45 a.m. Monday in Corryville when on-patrol officials heard the gunshot. Officials were patrolling the area. They heard multiple gunshots. We're not really sure how many, but it was a lot, Captain Mark Burns with Cincinnati police said. Officials were investigating the shooting at the intersection of University and Highland Avenues. There was a person that was one of the officers observed running into a house with a firearm. That person ended up coming out voluntarily. Let's see here. Kind of moving ahead. At the scene, officers found 4 people shot and a 5th victim took himself to a nearby hospital. 2 people were pronounced dead at the scene. A 3rd was taken to the University of Cincinnati Medical Center where they died from their injuries. 2 more victims are in stable condition at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Cincinnati police said all victims are males, but their ages haven't been confirmed yet. That being said, there's not much to like say who did it, what's the motive. They do have a person of interest, though, that is being interviewed at the criminal investigation section. And any witnesses are asked to call Crime Stoppers at 513-352-3040. So There you go there. A little bit of a local update, even though it's a sad one, unfortunately. I don't like covering any kind of fucking mass shooting or whatever, but it is a reminder that these things are ongoing. It is a backbeat in the, in the American society and psyche. So, I wanted to get that in there. But yeah, keeping it once again in America. I have one more thing that I wanted to cover, and then I'll let you go for the day. You can get back to your lasagna. But you know what that means. It's last break time. Break time. Ooh. All right. Oh, it's taking hold. Okay. Rescuers make progress after more than 100 Atlantic white-sided dolphins stranded off Cape Cod, Massachusetts. After more than 100 dolphins were found stranded off Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the number had dwindled down to between 10 to 20 dolphins circling the harbor by Saturday morning following a 12-hour rescue effort by the International Fund for Animal Welfare, a spokesperson said. So I'm happy when I initially got this. I was like, oh man, another mass stranding. That sucks. That's a bummer. But hearing that a lot of the dolphins got out, like at least 80 or so, that's great. That's awesome news. Haven't heard any exact reported, dolphin deaths either. So I guess that's also good news, knock on wood. But yes, in what the IFAW described as possibly the largest single mass stranding event in the organization's 26-year history, 125 Atlantic white-sided dolphins were located stranded early Friday in shallow mud flats of Wellfleet in an area called the Gut, or Great Island at the Herring River. Stacy Hedman, the fund's communication director, described the area as a very difficult location with dangerous mud. The town of Wellfleet is a little over 100 miles southeast of Boston. Let's see. On Saturday, Hedman said, other than the remaining 10 to 20 dolphins, the rest of the mammals were successfully herded out, at least for a time. Which is always sad because there's a high chance that, the dolphins or the whales in these kind of situations can, get into the same predicament that got them there, even though we don't know what even caused this stranding event in the first place, that they could do it again. So obviously they're on the watch for that. They're being, very mindful and cautious and vigilant, but hopefully that this is, successful and stays that way. But yes, those spotted this morning are likely the same dolphins. They are still swimming, but close to the shore. Noting that the low tide was set to begin at noon. Let's see. We had 125 Atlantic white-sided dolphins strand and 10 died before we had arrived. Had been sent an email to CNN on Friday. The dolphins were herded in a coordinated response effort Friday to encourage their movement back to deeper waters. Let's move ahead. The rescue had many challenges due to the number of dolphins, the large size of many of the animals, how spread out they were over a large area, the difficult mud conditions, and the complicated locations from which we could reach them, said Misty Niemeyer, stranding coordinator for the IFAW. It was a 12-hour exhausting response in unrelenting sun, but the team was able to overcome the various challenges and give the dolphins their best chance of survival. So yeah, I'm happy that I'm coming at you with some good news to kind of close it out, at least overall. But obviously RIP to those lost, the people and the dolphins, and, maybe even democracy. Shit, but, hell, that's it. That's really where I want to leave it, actually. If you'd like to help out, become a newsie, you want to get a shout out. I forget that I'm doing that. I kind of had for a time let it go, but I guess it is a perk if you want to hear your name on the podcast. That's a thing. I do that once a month. But yeah, become a newsie today. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Let's see. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Let's see. Other free ways to hit me up. Any of the socials. I'm there. The podcast is there. Feel free to reach one or the other on any given platform. Let's see. Subscribe to the YouTube. Trying to get those numbers up, and up. And then leave a comment. That's always cool. Sharing is caring. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.